Hey there, Aquarius. Welcome to your reading for the week of September 15th. We're going to jump right in here. You have this passive income card. It says the best money is made while you sleep. Yes. You have this unworthy card. It says, do you genuinely believe in your worthiness to attain the abundance you desire? So, yeah, you're going to have to believe in yourself at this time to be able to manifest what you desire. Now, this is definitely true. Especially right now, we have these, Neptune transits going on, Neptune retrograde, all this stuff. One thing, most people think of Neptune as spiritual, which it is, but, sometimes I think with Neptune, it's also about like self-worth and, what you believe you are worth, basically. And so working on those, working on self-worth is always a great idea. With Neptune retrograde and also retrograding with Saturn, and I think the maybe like a point of stress for Aquarius with Neptune and Saturn retrograding basically at the same time could be that if there is like a structure, Saturn, something in your life that it is tied to your self-worth, then that structure could be changing or dissolving or going through some sort of transformation. And as I was saying that, you get the death card, which is kind of funny, but it's definitely popping into my head that something that's this could be like a job that's changing, a career, could be anything, and so it can bring up that pressure or the feeling of pressure with something that is dissolving, and that's definitely popping into my head. In your first row for your current general energies, you have the Seven of Swords, the King of Wands, and the Four of Wands. The Seven of Swords can be lying, cheating, stealing. But again, as I always say, Seven of Swords is a good card. It is a golden card. Golden cards in the tarot are meant to be positive no matter what. And he is sneaking away from those swords. It's funny, this is the reason why I brought up Neptune, by the way, is because of the Seven of Swords. Seven of Swords has nothing to do with Neptune, but what I would say is he has these polka dots on his cloak. And the polka dots in the tarot represent taking things too seriously, needing to be more playful. I think if you're feeling the pressure that I described at the beginning of the reading, then, like one of the tricks with Neptune is to get more imaginative, more creative, more playful, not take things too seriously. It's like you have to think about it as like a river, but it's like multiple rivers in your life that you are, flowing down, right? It's like some of those rivers might be blocked by something at some point, and other rivers flow, right? And just into the ocean, right? And so you have to find the rivers that flow in your life. And, that can, focusing on those things that are just flowing, that are fun, that allow, that you feel inspired by, those are the things that you should be focusing on, I feel, with this Seven of Swords energy. And yeah, that pretty intense message here, Aquarius, but that is what I feel throughout the whole entire reading. You have several cards of flow. King of Cups, Eight of Wands, Six of Swords. These are all encouraging you to pay attention to that. You have the King of Wands. The King of Wands could be a person for some of you. There's a little bit of love here if you want it. And, again, this would be like a bold, assertive person. King of Wands is, I think for you, it's about being bold and assertive and, kind of like trusting yourself or getting to a place where you trust yourself. Like I said, I think that, focusing on your inner world or, focusing on building your confidence and also your value, like where you get value, what makes you feel valuable, those types of things, that's what I would be, those are the activities that I would be more doubling down on with this King of Wands energy, and it's definitely popping into my head, like I said. He's also a visionary. So again, with that Neptune energy, right? Neptune is a visionary energy. We think of Aquarius as the visionary, as the innovator, which you are. But I also feel, Neptune's very creative. And like I said, Neptune values like creative inspiration. The King of Wands is also very creative. And so I would, again, tap into that creative inspiration side with that card. You have the Four of Wands. Four of Wands can be marriage or commitment. So, if you're looking for love, by the way, this definitely could be like a commitment or marriage coming in for you. And, again, it looks good. It's not really a love reading. I would say it's more, like I said, it's more, I don't know why I feel this way, but I do feel this is like a Neptunian reading, if that if there is such a thing, right? And so for you, I feel this is encouraging you for whatever reason. The week of the 15th might be a good week for you to, work with that Neptune energy. So that could include like writing down your dreams, meditating, quieting the noise, only doing things that you feel inspired to do. Those are the things that I would be committing to with the Four of Wands this week. And yeah, it could just be a good week to do that. The other thing I will say is that, it's probably a bad time to force anything. If you have to force anything, it's just not going to work, right? And so, like I said, we have to commit to those rivers that flow. And I think that should be, at least with this, really with the whole entire reading, but definitely this first row, that's what I would be focused on if I were you. It's going to make things easier. With the Seven of Swords, you have the Four of Swords. Again, taking care of yourself is, I think I said this in your September reading, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not the September reading, but the September eclipse reading that I just did. I think I said this to you that, again, taking care of yourself, resting, relaxing, recovering, healing, all those things are going to be more beneficial. Four of Swords is resting, relaxing, recovering, and that's what I would do with that card. With the King of Wands, you have the Page of Swords. Page of Swords is a card of curiosity. We have to tap into curiosity with the Page of Swords. We have to do things that make us curious. We have to we have to follow our curiosity, and that's exactly what I was talking about. The thing about Neptune is that it's like one inspiration leads to another, and so it's kind of like maybe how you start is not how you're going to finish something. If you're working on a project, it's going to evolve over time, and there is no finish line right now, right? It's like I think people maybe right now are thinking, oh, I'm gonna start this project, do this thing, and it's gonna there's gonna be this finish line where it ends like this, but probably not. It's probably gonna evolve over time. Saturn retrograde again kind of disrupts structure. We could be changing certain structures, like I said, and I don't know. This energy seems to be hitting you this week for some reason, and that's why I'm talking about it. But that's what I would do with that card. With the Four of Wands, you have the Two of Wands. It's kind of like you have to take the lead in your own life. Again, he is leaving a structure. He is standing at the top of his castle, but he has this wand behind him, and that wand behind him stands on its own, and he's reaching forward and grabbing onto this new wand, and he has the whole world in his hands. So he kind of has to leave like an existing structure, and he is being asked to go build a new kingdom, and which I definitely feel like you are, Aquarius. It's like you're being asked to build a new structure in your life, or a new form of security or stability or whatever you want to call it. And like I said, this reading is very clear to me that is what this reading is about. And so I feel a lot of you are kind of like you're in the process of like crystallization. You're crystallizing a future vision, maybe not even realizing it yet. And again, this could be something that takes years, right? Next, in the area of what's coming in for you, here you go. You have this Royal You card, and you also have this Quieting the Mind card, which we basically just said. So I think with the Neptune energy, that taking time to quiet your mind, to listen, to tap in, meditate, go for a quiet walk, any of those things are going to be beneficial. The Royal You card, like I said, you're building a new structure. You are, building that new kingdom, maybe claiming your crown in a new way, whatever you want to call it. And that is, this is just confirmation. I really have nothing else to add. You have the Page of Wands, the Six of Wands, and the Two of Pentacles. Page of Wands, like I said, is about following your inspiration, which we already talked about. So Page of Wands, he doesn't really have a good reason for doing things. I think the challenge of having Neptune retrograding into this last part of Pisces, it's really solidifying the last 14 years of Neptune and Pisces for us, which is like the big impossible dream. And so we're having until it's not in Pisces yet, Neptune. It's on its way back. It'll be there in October. And then again, it doesn't move back into Aries until January of next year. And so between now and then, I feel like we really have to kind of follow inspirations. And, I think the challenge, like I said, with Neptune is that, we could be experiencing judgments from people. It's like people could be like, what the hell are you doing with your life? Or, have you lost your mind? Things like that, right? Because Neptune is an illusion. But to the outside world, if you're working on a project or doing something different with your life, or, following through on a crazy idea, people aren't going to understand it. But the whole point of the Page of Wands is he really doesn't care, right? He does his own thing. He marches to the beat of his own drum, kind of like the Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands is my card of learning as you go. The Page of Wands, he kind of has, he might have to learn as he goes, but, he really, again, is following his enthusiasm or his inspirations, and that's what I would do here, Aquarius. You have the Six of Wands. I feel you need to follow your attention as well. The Six of Wands is a victory, success, coming back after a long journey and being rewarded. He's being celebrated for his victory. But he's also getting attention, which is going to be a very important word for you, Aquarius, over the next many years. I think that there could be a lot of positive attention coming in for you. But, again, you're going to have to use that attention in constructive ways. Or the other thing is that you could be doing things that get you more attention at this time. And I would highly recommend it. I think it's an excellent time to get attention. But again, what's going to get you attention is like being uniquely you and kind of like, tapping into that creative Neptune energy. It's not going to be like doing what everybody else is doing, right? And I feel that's kind of what you have to do with the Six of Wands is, don't be afraid of doing things in a different way or, kind of trying weird things or, different ways of living, whatever the case may be. And if you do that, I feel that's where the success will come from. You have the Two of Pentacles. Two of Pentacles, like work hard, play hard. Yes, again, like I said earlier in the reading, the problem with Neptune is we can't force things. The thing is whenever we have these big Neptune transits, like when it's retrograding into a sign, for example, crossing a cusp, which is pretty significant, Saturn there at the same time, pretty significant. Whenever we have this stuff, which again, nothing like this will really happen again in our lifetime. So we're in a kind of a crazy time. But with Neptune, if we try to force things, it's just not going to work. You're going to feel burnt out and things like that, right? Again, we have to think Neptune values inspiration, values doing things that feel imaginative and expansive, things like that. So again, as long as it's inspired, then you'll be fine. But if it's not inspired, then you're going to burn out really quick, right? And the Two of Pentacles wants you to pay attention to that. With the Page of Wands, you have the Wheel of Fortune, which you have twice. Yeah, again, this sounds not lucky, but we are in a very lucky time because, again, if we feel inspired, then we will find that luck. And things will flow, right? It's like Neptune doesn't stop anything from happening. It's not like this is bad or anything like that. It just, we have to pay attention to the flow, and that's what I would do. Wheel of Fortune wants us to double down on the good stuff and, get rid of the bad stuff just as quickly, and so I would pay attention with that card. With the Six of Wands, you have the Four of Cups. Yeah, I feel this week, a lot of people, you could be feeling this right now. Today is September 10th, so this will be published on the 11th, right? And even if you're watching this video early before the week, you could be feeling this energy right now, like you are not going to be able to have something or you're not going to be able to manifest something in your life. He's tried to manifest something like 3 times before, and now he's getting another opportunity, but he's not accepting it because he's been disappointed many times before. And so the trick with the Four of Cups is to realize that each one of these things has provided you with a lesson that you can apply to this one cup right here, and that's what I would do. With the Two of Pentacles, you have the Justice card. Justice is like cause and effect, right? So with this in Wheel of Fortune, for sure, Wheel of Fortune isn't really cause and effect, but I do think with the Wheel of Fortune, we should pay attention to cause and effect because the Wheel of Fortune wants us to double down on what's working, and the Justice card also wants us to double down on what's working. So, Justice, we have to try things, and we have to see what works, we have to see what doesn't, and then go from there. I feel it's an amazing time to, again, try a couple of things with small investments, right? I've said this many times before. We have to, this is why I talk about experimenting so much on my channel, is because Neptune kind of rewards that. Like if you, let's say you had an idea for a YouTube channel, like if I had an idea for a new channel, I would like come up with like at least like 3 ideas that would be a small investment, right? And I would try all 3, and then I would see what works, I would see what doesn't, and then I would double down on the good stuff, right? And so if we kind of pay attention like that, good things will happen, especially for you. I think one thing that Aquarius should pay attention to with Pluto and Aquarius is evidence. Pluto and Aquarius, there's something about it that really says pay attention to the evidence. If you're doing something and it's working, great. Keep going. If you're doing something that's not working, then stop and do something else or, change your direction. And that's really what I would pay attention to there. Next, in the area of messages from your future self, you have this Juniper card. It says stand strong. You have this Quail card. It says follow your heart. Yes, Neptune definitely wants you to follow your heart. I should call this a Neptune reading because that's like the first thing that popped into my head in your reading, which is kind of weird, but it kind of makes sense as well. For you, and because it's getting very close to your second house. The thing about Neptune going into your second, and again, even if you're not a second, even if Pisces isn't your second house, doesn't matter. For Aquarius, it basically is. So, with that energy, it's going to have to do with your value. And but like I said, I think the trick is for you to value yourself more than anything else. And that's really the energy I get here. I think when we follow our heart, we are basically saying that you are saying I value myself more, right? And that's what I would do here. Also, in the area of messages from your future self, you have the Eight of Wands, the King of Cups, and the Wheel of Fortune. The Eight of Wands is like straightforward, diligent focus. All those eight wands are focusing in one direction. It's also about something happening quickly. So I do feel that there are changes that are happening for you very quickly in your life. I also feel that a lot of you could notice like speed. I also feel that Neptune and Saturn could have to do with time. Saturn is time, but I feel Neptune is like dissolving time. And so it's like on one hand, things could be happening very quickly. On the other hand, I feel a lot of people right now could feel like they're running out of time, or they could feel like there are certain issues surrounding time that are popping up. So, a lot of people could be feeling the pressures of time. The Eight of Wands says, what can you do efficiently? And that's what I would be focusing on here, Aquarius. You have the King of Cups. Yeah, really tapping into your heart, right? King of Cups could be a person. I really feel this reading is all about you, Aquarius. And the King of Cups has very deep emotions. He's sitting in the middle of the ocean here. And, the whole point of the card is that he needs to focus on his deep emotions, how he feels about things. And if he stays focused on his deeper emotions, he will be more successful. And, the trick with the King of Cups is that he can't drown in his emotions. And, especially with Neptune and Pisces, it can be, a nostalgic time, an emotional time. Even though Neptune doesn't move back into Pisces until next month, doesn't matter. You could be feeling it early. And we did have it for many years. So, you could definitely be, because it's retrograding, it's calling back the energy. And, the King of Cups says, don't drown in your emotions. Basically, you should explore your emotions, see how you feel about things, maybe journal about it, write about it. And then it's not really about moving on either. It's more about integrating the emotion, right? It's like I don't think we should be emotionless or anything like that, obviously. And it's not about removing an emotion, but it is about kind of like seeing how you can, work with an emotion in your life, seeing how you can work with how you feel about something in your life. And that's what I would be focusing on with that card. You have the Wheel of Fortune. Again, change in your fortunes. I feel like there is a change in direction. I mean, everybody is because, again, Saturn retrograde, I think Saturn and Neptune are going to probably dissolve some sort of structure. It's not even like we're dissolving a structure, but we could notice how a structure like isn't as secure as we once thought it was, and that could be anything. Could be anything, right? And so for you, it probably has to do with money, or it could have to do with money, I should say. So some of you, it's like maybe you're realizing a job isn't as secure, maybe you're realizing that the way that you make money isn't as secure as you want. And again, this is not a bad thing. And I don't think there are going to be any disasters or anything like that with your money. But I also wouldn't wait. And I would, as long as you're building something inspired, then you'll be perfectly fine. So there you go. With the Eight of Wands, you have the King of Swords. Yeah, King of Swords is probably you showing up here. And so whenever you show up as yourself, it puts you in a position of power and strength and allows you to get what you want from the reading. I do feel it's an encouraging focus here. It's like you're focusing on a new direction, which is exactly what I would be doing. With the King of Cups, yes, you have the Nine of Pentacles, gratitude, luxury. Nine of Pentacles is about focusing on heaven on earth. Nine of Pentacles doesn't say you have heaven on earth, but it is the card of doing something to create heaven on earth, right? Even if it's not, even if you're living in hell, right? It says you need to do something to make your life a little bit more like heaven, and whatever that means for you. And sometimes we have to start small, but I would do that. The more we do it, the better life gets with the Nine of Pentacles. So we really have to, kind of try those new things. And, we really kind of have to like try new directions and work on new projects, and also change our environment and put ourselves in better positions and make ourselves happy and all that with this card. With the Wheel of Fortune, you have the Five of Cups. Yeah, it's like you have to turn around. The other thing I would say about Neptune, like one of the benefits of this energy for you, especially in the second house, is it could make work easier. The thing about Neptune is it doesn't want us to just like work hard, right? It wants us to work efficiently, or it wants us, but it's not even that. It's inspiration. It wants us to do things that are inspiring. So, again, I feel that if you've been working hard, maybe there's like a better way behind you. Maybe there's a different, there's another castle right here. He has to turn around and he'll see this bridge and this castle. So he doesn't just get the two cups. And, this reading is definitely saying build your kingdom, or build a new kingdom in your life, and that's what I would do. Next, in the area of the good stuff, you have this limitation card. There you go. It says trapped, repressed, lack of resources. You have this war. It says internal conflict, emotional regulation. Are you kidding me? Everything we talked about here, Aquarius, in this reading comes up on these last two cards. They're coming up in the good stuff, so, obviously they're going to be more positive than negative because they're coming up in the good stuff. But, again, I do feel you're feeling these things. I feel emotional regulation definitely pops into my head for you with that King of Cups. I literally said it. I didn't say that, but I said something similar. So and again, it's not about eliminating an emotion. It's about like how you use it, how you integrate it into your life, and use it in a positive way. Even like anger, it's like I think that there's nothing wrong with being angry as long as you're using it constructively, right? And so that's just one example, and that's what I would focus on here. You have two cards. You have the Death card, Knight of Swords, Six of Swords, and the Six of Pentacles. The Death card can be a change. Yet Knight of Swords says no rushing, right? Even though it's coming up in the good stuff, I wouldn't like rush some sort of change, although it does look like something is happening quickly for you, Aquarius. I feel like something could happen quickly if you stay inspired, right? If you do things that you're more inspired to do, if you do things that you're more excited to do in life, then things will probably go a lot better. You have two sixes, which I love. If you've been watching me for a while, I love two sixes together. It represents, moving forward in the right direction. It's kind of like confirmation for your path or your journey. Six of Swords is about moving on to calmer shores, so there are clearly improvements available to you. I feel like this is about the rivers that we talked about, like making sure that you're flowing down a river, whatever that means for you. And that's what I would focus on with the Six of Swords. You have the Six of Pentacles. Six of Pentacles is like straightforward. It is a card of planting seeds. It's a card of experimentation, which we talked about in this reading. So again, the reading flows very nicely. Speaking of flow, it's kind of like one storyline here in this reading, which is great. I like one storyline readings because, it kind of says there's not much to work on. And, yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I feel a little bit of stress here for you, Aquarius, for whatever reason. But is it bad? No. I feel as long as you, channel that stress into something, and as long as you realize I'm stressed because I'm focusing on the old ways, I just need to get inspired, and it's like there's a million things you can do to do that. You can go for a walk. You can meditate. You can write down your dreams when you wake up in the morning. That's some ways. The other thing about Neptune is we can get inspirations from anything. You could watch a movie. You could watch a comedy. You could do something, Nine of Pentacles, to make yourself feel better. Watch a movie that makes you laugh, something like that. And you could get inspiration from those places as well. Read a book that you enjoy. Do something to entertain yourself. And most people think, I think most people in their stress, they think, I got to work because, that's the thing that will make me money, that will get me out of the stress. No. Right? Actually, the opposite with Neptune energy. And that's what I would be focusing on here with the Six of Pentacles. With the Knight of Swords and whatever this other card was, the Death card, you have the Strength card. Yeah, you have the Strength. I feel like you've been developing Strength for a long time, Aquarius. And so, yeah, I would just keep doing what you're doing here with the Strength card. That's it. With the Six of Swords, you have the Hangman. Hangman is sometimes about being stuck in Hangman mode, but, again, we have a lot going on right now. Also, Uranus and Gemini, that is bringing us new perspectives. Also, Neptune. So, the Hangman is about seeing things from a new perspective. And again, that's another amazing thing we can do with the Neptune and Uranus energy right now is gain new perspectives. Look at how people do things that you're doing. Look at other ways of doing things. And if you do that, then you'll probably move forward. With the Six of Pentacles, you have the Ten of Wands, the stress, the pressure, but it's coming up in the good stuff, right? So the whole point of this card is that these wands are right in front of his face. He can't see how close he is to his goal. So some of those responsibilities that he's carrying might not be his, or they might just be totally unnecessary. So sometimes we have to look at what is causing us stress in the first place, and we need to say, and if we do that, maybe we realize some of those things we just don't need, right? And so I think it would be a great time to, look at your burdens, responsibilities, the things that you're dealing with, the things that you're working on, and just say, how can I make things smoother? And that's what I would do. You have this vase card that says secret admirer on it. Yeah, there could be a little bit of love here. If you want love, sure, definitely could be love coming in for you with this card. You have the stork. It says news of a birth or a new business opportunity. You're trying to birth something new, Aquarius, is what I feel. I feel like you are. Most of you maybe are working on something new, or you're thinking about it. Again, I think the missing piece of the puzzle is the finding the inspiration. It's I think you might have some ideas on what to work on, but it's you're waiting for that click. You're waiting for that excitement or something, and that's popping into my head. You have this December card and this horse card. It says short journey on it. Yeah, some of you, I do feel like travel, exploration, adventure is a good thing right now. Can't make this one up. You have this yoke card. It says feeling tied down or frustrated. I mean, basically what I was talking about this entire time. So, and I gave you a million ways that you could easily get out of this energy. So I would focus on that. You have this quill. It says get back to basics. Yes, keep it simple, right? No, Neptune doesn't want us, and again, you might be asking, why do you keep talking about Neptune? I don't know. I really don't know, Aquarius. It's that is the thing that I feel like the reading is about, and I read intuitively. That's what I'm getting, right? For you, for whatever reason. So obviously it's important this week, and again, I really have never had a reading like this, where I feel this, but again, I definitely feel that, if you're working hard, or you're stressing yourself out, or you're doing complicated things, Neptune doesn't like that. Neptune wants us to, again, do things out of inspiration. So if you feel excited about what you're doing, then things will go very well. And, but also we should keep things simple. Pretty interesting reading here, Aquarius. Not going to lie. I do like it, though. So that's good. But thank you for being here, and definitely enjoy your week.